Yo, so we're back with another video. My last video did so well. 188 views to date, like when I'm recording this. Hopefully it's a lot more. Hopefully you go watch that video. It was very funny. Anyways, we are going to be looking into the World Cup. Honestly, one of my first years watching the World Cup, the last time I watched the World Cup, Germany won. Actually, let's just like Google that real quick. When did Germany win? Wait a second. My camera. When was the last time Germany won World Cup? So 2014, because I was not born in 1990. Yeah, I'm not that unk. Yeah, so 2014 was the last World Cup I watched. 2018 didn't get to watch, and 2022 I also didn't get to watch. Wow. So 2026 World Cup, is this shit a disaster like this video is asking? Like, World Cup disaster, bro? Let's get into it, bro. Let's get into it, bro. Honestly, let's get into it. Okay? I'm gonna be brushing my hair while we watch this video. If you see a mattress in the back, it's because I'm moving into another room. So there's a lot of things happening. In the coming days, you'll see some different shit. Honestly. Let's do this.
It's a disaster World Cup. As professional players in a professional tournament, it's not right, it's not fair. If it's fair for FIFA, okay, good for them. But it's not fair. Who wants to help us? No one helps. No one. Those were the words of the Iran's captain and number 9, Mehdi Taremi. And as the group stage just ended, and for many people the World Cup has now truly started in knockout rounds, we cannot forget this key detail of this World Cup. And I can go into Uruguay and how they failed, and I can go into the teams that have failed during this World Cup, like yesterday's video when I went into Czechia, covering Scotland, of course Turkey, and Turkey may get their own video at some point very soon. However, Iran's tournament in this World Cup cannot be forgotten about, because I think a lot of it has kind of gone under the surface and has been carefully put to one side out of clear view to most of the media.
Yo, honestly, I'm not a political person, but I feel bad, so bad for Iran, bro. Like, honestly, bro, has anyone ever seen that clip of them, like, they're doing their own, like, what's it called? Because, there's an entire thing happening between US and, like, Iran right now. Like, bro, there was, like, a clip of, like, Iran doing their own, like, what's it called? Anthem, and people were booing, bro. Americans were booing, bro. What? Come on, bro. Nobody boos unless you're Colin Kaepernick, bro. Like, nobody boos to the anthem, American anthem, bro. Why do you gotta boo to theirs, bro? But then the next game they played, nobody booed, so I was pretty happy about that because I watched that game actually. But yeah. So,
one of the Iranian coaches came out saying that he would describe the treatment of the Iranian national team as oppression. And off the pitch and on the pitch for the Iranian national team has been like just sad. It's been sad all around, especially how it happened on the pitch, that they were only a minute or two away from.
We might have to put the headphones on so we just don't hear echoes. Don't want to hear any echoes, honestly. I don't know if you can hear this though. You can't hear it. Wait 1 second.
To that Austria versus Algeria game, the disgrace of Gihon. Well, how about the disgrace of Kansas City? And you can tell me down below, how do you feel in the comments? And I just want to put in one video everything that's...
You tell me down below in my comments, how do you feel about this?
Kind of happened, just so you can have a clear view on what's happened here. I'm not here to try to be overly political here. However, as we established in, if you watch my entire history of the World Cup video, politics and the World Cup go together quite well. And we found it yet again in many different ways. Because there is always nonsense, but not one where the host nation is actively still bombing one of the members of that tournament. Let's get into it. If you do enjoy, like and subscribe. We are actually nearly at 500,000 subscribers. I think about 70% of you guys are not subscribed, so if you do like the content,
subscribe to me. 100% of you are not subscribed.
content, then please,
I'm
it
at
helps me a
88
lot if you can
subscribers.
subscribe.
Actually,
Also,
we
Mazar
grew
Designs
up one
gets a principal
subscriber in
wall,
the past
hopefully.
day. Honestly, in the past week, we grew up one subscriber. That is so much more than I can say for this guy, but still.
Or when England wins the World Cup. So let's just
so
go
much
back to the
less.
start of this year, where it kind of all kicked off with US and Iran with the conflict. This, of course, involved Iran, Israel, and USA earlier this year. And of course, there's the bigger picture, which is the human lives at stake here and the lives that have been lost. This is a war, and in like many wars, there's many horrific events. This isn't something that's just military based. For example, in the first week of this conflict, USA bombed a school in Iran and killed over 150 people, the vast majority being students. Kids. Let's not forget that this is a lot deeper than just football. The US reasoning of why this happened is due to old information and old data, as allegedly this building was once used by the military, however hasn't been for many years now. So even though we'll be talking about just football here, there's a real big picture behind all of this. So of course, due to this conflict, the idea of Iran going to America to go take part in the FIFA World Cup sounded insane. To the point where they were probably not going to take part in it at all. Gianni Infantino, likes of FIFA, tried all they can to try to keep Iran in the competition, making promises that when they do arrive, they'll be protected, despite the fact that Donald Trump at a time period said that, well, he doesn't really care if they are in the tournament, and alongside it said that if they were to come, he would fear their safety. Quote, Iran's World Cup participation is not important to
Honestly, if they came to America, I'd fear for their safety. Honestly, I can't really do anything about that. But what I can do is bomb a bunch of children. Honestly, press the button.
Like, bro.
to me. A few weeks later, altering his position, saying the Iranian national team are welcome to the World Cup, but I really don't believe it is appropriate that they will be there for their own life and safety. And when Donald Trump said this, Gianni Infantino, in his wisdom, that of course gave Trump that Peace Prize from FIFA that was just made up just to give to him, despite the fact that not too long afterwards he then bombed an Iranian school and killed students. He then came out saying, we all need an event like the FIFA World Cup that brings people together more than ever. And I sincerely thank the President of the United States for support, as it shows once again that football unites the world.
Wow.
Isn't that just like incredible?
Wait. That's support right there? Nah, that's crazy, bro. No way, bro. No way. The nigga that literally runs the FIFA, like the World Cup, is saying thank you for your support, Mr. President. When the president just said they can pull up. But on God, if we see them on site, they dead, bro. They dead on site. No, on site, bro. You might be cooked, honestly. I can speak for myself, but I can't speak for my own, honestly. I'm sorry. These rednecks around here, they get busy. We might bomb schools, they shoot up schools. Like, bro, what the fuck, bro? What?
Like, nothing makes me think about bringing the world
bro,
together
it's
than when
actually
the
stupid.
president of the country says to the team that's taking part in the tournament in said country, literally says, well, I mean, you can come, but like, you should fear for your life and safety. Again, I try to not be political here, but like, let's be real here for a second, especially that throughout this entire time since the start of the year and even yesterday, Sunday, the 28th of June, Donald Trump came out saying, in his own words, that Iran will no longer exist, with strikes still happening and things are still escalating. I love it when the world comes together. And very, very few World Cup teams have ever entered the tournament under even close to comparable circumstances, especially in the host nation who they are directly in conflict with. And do you love visas? I love visas. However, the president of the Iranian Football Federation definitely does not like visas, where he was denied a US visa of the World Cup, which nearly caused Iran to boycott the draw before they reversed their decision, as FIFA promised that he would be allowed in the country. Alongside that, 14 members of the Iran's technical and support staff were also denied their visa. This was also confirmed by the captain Mehdi Taremi, the number 9. And he also had his own experience too, Taremi, and also another player called Saeed Aholi were also delayed countlessly throughout the entire tournament, and including the final game against Egypt in Seattle, when they were eventually able to enter, disrupting Iran's preparations. Every level of preparations that a World Cup team should be allowed to have for before a World Cup game, they were not given. And going back to the start of the year, when Iran threatened to boycott the tournament as this was all going on, FIFA warned Iran that they could face sanctions if they withdrew, probably meaning that they won't be able to take part in future FIFA tournaments as well. And when Iran asked FIFA if they could move their games out of the US into Mexico,
I'd rather take the sanction because, again, like fucking Trump said, bro, I'm not a political person, but as Trump said in this video, fear for their life and safety, and then Iran will no longer exist. How the fuck is a country supposed to join the next World Cup in 4 years if that country won't exist in under 1 year? Let's lock in here, bro. The next World Cup is 4 years from now. Am I like on something right now? Trump is still in presidency for 2 more years. Like, am I off some shit right now? Like, I'm confused, bro, honestly. Like, what?
they refused, of course, to alter schedule, but it means that also Iran have to change their original US base to now be in Mexico. And as every game they had was on the west coast in California or in Washington and Seattle, they had to find a base just by the border in Tijuana in Mexico, which means that unlike every other nation that has the ability to stay near the venues of the stadiums they're playing at, of course, America's a big country, reports by many different sources by the way, most of this sources is from the likes of Reuters and other credible sources like The Athletic. Repeatedly, Iran had to fly back and forth between Mexico and the US constantly, creating a schedule which on the players were exhausting. Have you ever just traveled on an airplane, going through the entire experience, going through coaches and trains and buses and coaches, being delayed for visa situations all the time? It is a lot. Players and staff, everyone that's involved, labeled it as a logistical disaster and that they felt
Shit, bro, I honestly feel so bad for this team. Wow.
oppressed. Because keep in mind, despite the fact that apparently Iran are welcome, they had strict limits on how long they could even stay in the country. After a game ended, they could only be in the country for a short period of time before they had to leave the nation. And I'm not a sports scientist by any means, but that can't be ideal. And to make it even better, it doesn't help that you're having delays at the airport every single time for visa issues. And to make it even
we have to beg. It's a disaster World Cup. Now we have to travel to Tijuana again. Without recovery, without nothing, it's not fair. That's honestly sad, bro. Like, if you don't understand maps, Tijuana's down here, bro, and all their games are, like, around over here, buddy. Tijuana's in Mexico, and America's up here. Actually, it's all around here, but still, like, where their games are is over here.
better, it doesn't help that you're having delays at the airport every single time for visa issues. And when 14 members of your original staff couldn't even get in the country to begin with. And that as well, even the fans. Of course, to some people's surprise, there was quite a lot of Iranian fans at the games. You may have felt like there wouldn't be. But especially in LA, which is where 2 of the games were at, there's a massive Iranian community over there. Potentially the biggest Iranian community anywhere in the world outside of Iran, of course. So of course, if you're already in the country, they can go to the games. But if you actually are from Iran or elsewhere in the world, it would be very, very hard for you to actually enter the games. And I'm not even talking about the football yet, but trust me, I will get into it soon. Keep in mind as well, they had to train 3 weeks in Turkey before the tournament. They couldn't even go to US and Mexico to begin with because they had to get everything processed for them to be allowed there in the first place. Again, think of this of just compounding of disrupting a team's schedule in the World Cup, and then compare this to how they actually performed at the World Cup. And it is honestly a miracle. And take away the physical side, think about just emotionally to these players.
Wait. Okay, we're back.
that you are at war with the nation that you are literally going to go play football for, how can you stay focused on the task? The bigger picture of the reason why this war started due to alleged prevention of nuclear weapons gained by the Iranian government, and of course the reasons and justifications of why the US felt like they had to attack has also been critiqued to the hills. Just think about these other simple footballers that's going to try to represent the country, that try to bring some kind of pride to the country. And keep in mind with Gianni Infantino that he went into the dressing room before Iran's game against New Zealand, their first game, and promised that they will solve every problem here, but actually FIFA did nothing. This was the words of Taremi. He was also asked if he felt like it was preferred that Iran just simply wasn't in the competition at all, in which Taremi said, from his perspective, it appears to be the case. And now it's time for the actual football part of it. So they of course had a group with Belgium, Egypt and New Zealand, and Iran as a footballing nation got a fairly good record, and with Egypt and New Zealand, you'd like to think they've got a pretty good chance of actually getting a win and making it out of the group stages. So then comes the first game, New Zealand, and this felt like a game that they kind of had to win, and it was a fairly decent game, 50-50 on both ends, and a draw was probably a fair result for the two nations. Both teams were creating decent chances, and really either way, either side could have won the game. And then came Belgium, which most people expected a comfortable Belgian win here at least, especially given the circumstances, but Iran dug deep, and it dug deep all the way until Ngoy got a ridiculous red card in the 66th minute, and Iran still potentially could have lost that game even after that point. Belgium of course were dominant in that game, and just like their entire story of that World Cup so far, similar to Turkey, just incredibly weak in front of goal. And then came the final game, Egypt versus Iran, and really the talking point of this wasn't even really about the game itself and the fact that Iran can maybe win and they can make it through. It was really about the fact that this was the only pride match in the entire World Cup. Now, people thought this was some kind of sick joke, that of course they would give it to the two Muslim nations to have it as to be the pride match, but to some insanely weird coincidences, this was selected to be the match for the pride match in Seattle, as it meant something to the people of Seattle months before the draw even happened. This was always going to be the pride match regardless of who played in this game. And regarding a lot of conversations about this being the pride match and this causing controversy, accusations apparently Iran and Egypt said that they were boycott or that they wanted it to be removed, and really if no one mentioned that this was a pride match, you'd never have realised that it was even happening in the first place. Speaking of flags, this is separate to the pride match, but there was also some controversy that I kept seeing about the type of flag you'd use for Iran. If you notice that in the branding, it would say IR Iran, not just Iran. That is because IR Iran means the Islamic Republic of Iran. After the Islamic Iranian Revolution back in 1979, they of course changed their flag, which had the yellow line with the sword, and changed it to what we now know of it as today. And of course, many Iranians opposed to the Islamic Revolution of Iran, so how they decide to represent their nation is by the original flag. This was controversial, as if you were seen to have this flag enter the stadium, then you would actually be removed. Many people would use the pre-revolutionary flag as a way of protest against the current regime. Just another little detail about what's been happening as well throughout the people at the actual stadiums. Anyway, back to the Egypt game, the third game of the group stage. Egypt scored in the 5th minute, and then Iran got a penalty. Taremi stepped up and missed that penalty. Later on, would then score, and the game would be at 1-1. The game was still alive, but Egypt was having more of a possession and a bit more the pressure for a good chunk of the game. However, it was at the end that it really got a bit sad. In the 93rd minute, Khalilzadeh did put the ball in the back of the net, and it seemed like Iran had this fantastic moment, almost as a way of protest to what has happened to them to get out of the group stage into the knockout rounds. However, shortly after, this was chalked off for offside. Many people look at the offside image and thinking, how can he be offside? As you can see that when the contact the ball was made, that there was still one Egypt player behind the line of the Iranian player that scored the goal. So why was that offside? That's due to a very specific rule that many people probably don't even know, that for a player to be onside, there must be two opposition players between an attacker and the goal. In most cases, that would be the goalkeeper and the one outfield player. So even though there's one player that is behind the Iranian player, it kind of matters on if there's two, not one, and typically the keeper is that second one in question in almost every case instead of this one. Even saying it still sounds complicated. As a rule, this is put in place to basically go against what we would call baby lining, when you're like playing like in the playground, where you just got one player that's up top of the pitch at all times, just ready for the ball. And even the space between the second player and the Iranian goal scorer, it was so narrow that it just made it so confusing. And again, Iran would feel like they've been cheated cheated out of the tournament. But then it somehow would get worse, that maybe they could still go through, dependent on the result of Austria v Algeria, which is so ironic as the disgrace of Gijon led to Algeria being knocked out from Austria. Now the two same nations are involved in the same situation. That the result of this game, if they drew, led to both teams staying in the tournament and one team not making it through. And this game was actually not a bad game, and I can't say this was the same as the disgrace of Gijon, as it was a 3-3. It was an entertaining game for about 60 minutes. When that second Algerian goal came in from Riyad Mahrez in the 60th minute, the game slowed down very drastically. From that period on, Algeria had a lot of the ball, leading to a 99% accurate passes from the 65th minute to the 90th minute, meaning that they didn't do any passes really at all that could have led to a mistake. Left to right to left to right for pretty much that entire time period. And then when Mahrez got an opportunity to score, he actually said in his interview, knowing fully well that if Algeria did win that game, that they would have a much harder game in the knockout round. In his own words, saying, "I have to respect football, I have to try to score." It's really bizarre to see someone score in the 90th minute in a World Cup match to win the game and to end up justifying why he did it. Even the response from his players to Mahrez when walking back to the centre circle looked like they weren't really too happy about it, and it kind of makes sense, as Algeria would then have to face Spain in the first game of the round of 32. Now Algeria have Switzerland in the round of 32. Up next would be Colombia or Ghana. And when Mahrez scored to what we think would win the game, Iran was going through. But then Austria score late on in the game in the 96th minute, and Iran has another sucker punch at them yet again. Iran's entire World Cup has for many people been seen as a disgrace, and really has just been seen as sad. In almost every single way of what could have gone wrong for them, it went wrong. And the worst part is, they didn't even lose a game. They drew every game at the group stage, and they still end up going home in this way. Going out due to a complicated and controversial VAR call, which most people don't even understand why it even happened, to then led to Algeria scoring to send them through in the 94th minute. Iran are through, they've done it, and then there's this controversy that potentially Algeria just kind of dropped their tools in the last minute to let Austria score so that they had a better bracket. In almost every single possible way that this World Cup could have gone wrong for Iran, or could have been disrupted, or could have gone against them, it did. And this may lead to one of the most unfortunate and saddest World Cup journeys maybe ever. And it feels like such a massive opportunity missed, because in any normal circumstance, in any other country, when you look at the group stage they had, it felt like Iran had a good chance of making it through out of that group. And instead it feels like a opportunity was took away from them. And despite all the carnage, despite all the chaos, despite all the controversy, they still almost made it through. So tell me down below, how do you feel about this? And I hope you guys did enjoy.
Damn.
Thank you.
Dude, that was a good video, bro. World Cup disaster. Bro. Honestly, I genuinely feel bad for Iran for that, bro. Wow. My God, bro. Anyways, yo. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Don't even hit that like button if you don't want to, but please subscribe, bro. That helps me so much, bro. I'm at 88 subscribers. I want to hit 100 by like the end of this month. By the end of next month, bro. Please, bro. Come on, bro. Please, bro. Don't make me beg, bro. Bro, don't make me beg, bro. Don't make me beg, bro. Don't make me beg, bro. Don't make me beg, bro.